In the desolate wasteland of a zombie apocalypse, a small island off the coast of the mainland became a sanctuary for a group of survivors. Led by the resourceful and pragmatic Emily, they had managed to establish a semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. Emily, a former engineer, had ingeniously repurposed the island's lighthouse as a lookout tower, providing an early warning system for approaching zombie hordes. Her husband, John, a skilled fisherman, ensured a steady supply of food from the surrounding waters. Together with Sarah, a nurse, and David, a mechanic, they formed the core of the group. They had learned to coexist with the constant threat of zombies, scavenging for supplies on the mainland and fortifying their island home. One fateful day, as John ventured out to replenish their food stores, he stumbled upon a group of survivors stranded on the mainland. They were desperate, having lost their boat and supplies in a zombie attack. Emily and her group knew they couldn't leave them to their fate. Using a makeshift raft, they ferried the survivors to their island, offering them shelter and assistance. Among the newcomers was a young woman named Anya, a skilled archer who had proven herself adept at hunting zombies. As the group grew, so did the challenges they faced. Zombies relentlessly besieged their island, testing their resilience and resourcefulness. Emily and John led the defense, coordinating their efforts and utilizing every weapon at their disposal. Sarah tended to the wounded and sick, while David repaired and maintained their meager equipment. Anya's archery skills became invaluable, thinning the zombie ranks from afar. Days turned into nights as the survivors fought for their survival. They mourned those they lost, but they never gave up hope. They knew that as long as they stood together, they could overcome any obstacle. One evening, as a particularly fierce horde descended upon their island, Emily and John realized that their defenses were failing. They had run out of ammunition, and their makeshift barricades were collapsing. Just when all seemed lost, Anya emerged from the shadows, her bow drawn and her eyes blazing with determination. She let loose a volley of arrows, striking down several zombies and scattering the horde. With Anya's intervention, the survivors managed to repel the attack. They had proven that even against overwhelming odds, the bonds of friendship and the indomitable spirit of humanity could prevail. As the zombie apocalypse raged on, the survivors on the small island continued to endure. They had become a beacon of hope in a world of despair, reminding each other that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could not be extinguished. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where the remnants of civilization clung tenaciously to life, there lived a group of survivors known as the Candy Raiders. Led by the enigmatic figure known as Sugar Rush, they had devised a unique and deadly strategy for survival, using candy as currency, weapons, and a means of maintaining order. Among the raiders was a young woman named Honey, a skilled scavenger with a quick wit and a heart of gold. Her partner was Sour Patch, a burly man with a gruff exterior but a soft spot for those he cared about. Together, they faced the challenges of the wasteland, raiding abandoned stores and scavenging for supplies. One fateful day, as they were searching a dilapidated shopping center, they stumbled upon a group of raiders known as the Gumdrops. Led by the ruthless Lollipop, the Gumdrops were known for their brutal tactics and their insatiable greed for candy. A tense standoff ensued, each group eyeing the other warily. Sugar Rush stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "We don't want trouble," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We're just looking for supplies." Lollipop sneered. "Supplies? You think you're gonna find anything worth taking in this dump?" "We've found plenty," Sugar Rush retorted. "And we're willing to trade." Lollipop hesitated for a moment, his eyes narrowed. "What do you have?" Sugar Rush produced a bag of Skittles. "These," she said. "And more." Lollipop's eyes widened in surprise. Skittles were a rare and valuable commodity in the wasteland, and he was tempted by the offer. However, he was also wary of Sugar Rush's intentions. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. "Because we're not like you," Sugar Rush replied. "We don't kill for the sake of it. We just want to survive." Lollipop pondered her words. He had seen enough of the wasteland to know that there were those who would say anything to get what they wanted. But there was something about Sugar Rush's eyes that made him think she was telling the truth. With a nod, he agreed to trade. The two groups exchanged supplies, and for a brief moment, there was a sense of peace between them. But as they were about to part ways, Lollipop's eyes fell on Honey and Sour Patch. A gleam of avarice entered his eyes. "Those two," he said, pointing at them. "I want them." Sugar Rush's face hardened. "No," she said. "They're not for sale." Lollipop laughed. "You don't have a choice," he said. "Either you give them to me, or we take them by force." Sugar Rush knew that she couldn't risk a fight. The Gumdrops outnumbered them, and they were better armed. With a heavy heart, she agreed to Lollipop's demand. As Honey and Sour Patch were handed over to the Gumdrops, a wave of sadness washed over the raiders. They had lost two of their own, and they knew that their lives would never be the same. But Sugar Rush vowed that she would find a way to get them back. She would use her candy, her cunning, and her unyielding determination to defeat the gumdrops and rescue her friends. And so, the Candy Raiders set out on a new mission, one that would test their limits and forge their bonds even stronger. In the desolate wasteland of the Commonwealth, where the remnants of a once great civilization struggled to survive amidst the ruins, a fierce battle raged for control of the Nuka Cola factory. The factory, a relic from a bygone era, held a precious prize, a cola cap press that could still produce the coveted currency of the wasteland. Leading the charge for the raiders was Talon, a ruthless and cunning warlord, his eyes glinting with greed as he surveyed the factory from afar. Diamond City, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos, sent forth its finest warriors, under the command of Preston Garvey, a man driven by a thirst for justice and the promise of a brighter future. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ravaged landscape, the two forces clashed with a deafening roar. Bullets flew through the air, ricocheting off metal and concrete, while the ground shook with the thunder of explosions. Amidst the chaos, a young woman named Piper Wright, a reporter for Diamond City Radio, witnessed the horrors of war firsthand. Her pen scribbled furiously as she captured the grim reality of the battle, the screams of the wounded, the stench of gunpowder, and the desperate cries for help. Talon, his face contorted with rage, led his raiders in a brutal assault on Diamond City's defenses. They swarmed the factory, their numbers overwhelming the guards. But the Diamond City warriors refused to yield. They fought tooth and nail, their determination fueled by the knowledge that the future of their city depended on it. In the thick of the battle, Preston Garvey confronted Talon, their swords clashing in a deadly dance. Each parry and thrust carried the weight of their respective causes. As the duel reached its climax, Preston disarmed Talon, sending the warlord crashing to the ground. With Talon defeated, the raiders' morale shattered. They fled in disarray, leaving behind the coveted cola cap press. Diamond City had triumphed, but the victory had come at a great cost. As the dust settled, Piper looked around at the carnage. The factory, once a symbol of hope, now lay in ruins. But even in the midst of such devastation, she couldn't help but feel a glimmer of optimism. The battle had shown that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could prevail. In the aftermath of the conflict, Diamond City used the cola cap press to produce a new currency, one that symbolized the city's resilience and determination. And as the years passed, the story of the battle for the Nuka Cola factory became a legend, passed down from generation to generation as a reminder of the sacrifices made for the sake of a better future. In the heart of the unforgiving swamp, nestled amidst the murky waters and towering cypress trees, lay the desolate town of Mirrorhaven. Its inhabitants, hardened by years of hardship, had carved out a perilous existence amidst the treacherous surroundings. Among them was Anya, a skilled hunter with a sharp eye and a steady hand. Her father, Boris, the town's elder, possessed a deep understanding of the swamp's secrets and the dangers that lurked within. And then there was Vlad, a young and impetuous warrior, eager to prove his worth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow upon the swamp, a sinister rumble filled the air. The ground beneath their feet shook violently, and the water in the canals churned and bubbled. A deafening roar echoed through the trees, sending shivers down the spines of the townsfolk. "It's the rampage," Boris exclaimed, his voice trembling. "The creatures are on the move." Chaos erupted as gigantic beasts emerged from the swamp's depths. Mirrorlurks, with their armored shells and venomous claws, charged into the town, wreaking havoc. Bloatflies swarmed the streets, their buzzing wings and infectious bites driving the inhabitants into a frenzy. Anya grabbed her rifle and rushed to the town's defenses. With each shot, she sent a mirrorlurk crashing to the ground, but their numbers seemed endless. Vlad fought valiantly, his sword gleaming in the dim light as he hacked and slashed at the bloated creatures. As the rampage reached its peak, a colossal behemoth, a deathclaw, lumbered into the town square. Its razor-sharp claws and glowing eyes sent a wave of terror through the hearts of the townsfolk. Anya knew they had to act quickly. She loaded a single, high-explosive round into her rifle and aimed at the deathclaw's head. With a deep breath, she pulled the trigger. The blast shattered the air, sending shrapnel flying through the square. The deathclaw let out a deafening roar as its skull was pierced, its massive body collapsing to the ground. The rampage subsided as the last of the creatures were vanquished. Mirrorhaven was left in ruins, its buildings damaged and its streets littered with the remnants of the carnage. In the aftermath of the attack, Boris surveyed the town with a heavy heart. "We've lost many this night," he said, his voice filled with grief. "But we have also proven our strength and resilience." Anya and Vlad stood side by side, their faces etched with a mix of sorrow and determination. They knew that the swamp would always be a dangerous place, but they were resolved to rebuild Mirrorhaven and protect its people from whatever horrors lurked within. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the swamp, casting a faint glimmer of hope upon the broken town, the survivors gathered in the town square. They shared stories of their losses and celebrated their victory. Boris stood before them, his voice filled with emotion. "Mirrorhaven has faced its greatest challenge," he said, "and we have emerged from it stronger than ever before. Let us never forget the sacrifices that have been made, and let us honor the legacy of those we have lost. With renewed purpose, the townsfolk of Nuka set to work rebuilding their shattered community. They repaired the damaged buildings, cleared the streets of debris, and mourned the fallen. And as the swamp continued to whisper its secrets, Anya, Vlad, and Boris stood guard, their eyes fixed upon the horizon, ready to face whatever dangers might come their way. For in the unforgiving heart of the fallout, Nuka would endure, a testament to the indomitable spirit of its people. In the desolate wasteland of the post-nuclear apocalypse, the verdant forest of Haven stood as a sanctuary amidst the ruins. Towering trees soared towards the heavens, their leafy canopies casting intricate shadows upon the overgrown ground below. Deep within this arboreal labyrinth, a small community of survivors had carved out a precarious existence, their homes nestled high among the branches. Amidst the tree-top dwellings, lived a young woman named Anya. With her nimble steps and keen eyesight, she was an adept hunter, providing sustenance for her family and the rest of the community. Her father, Grigory, was a wise old man who had witnessed the horrors of the war and now guided the people with a steady hand. One fateful day, as Anya ventured into the deeper recesses of the forest, she stumbled upon an eerie sight. In a clearing shrouded in mist, lay the skeletal remains of a long-forgotten settlement. As she cautiously approached, she noticed a faint glimmer among the ruins. Curiosity overcame her, and she reached out to retrieve it. In her palm, she held a small, metallic object. It was a locket, its surface covered in intricate carvings. As she opened it, a gasp escaped her lips. Inside, nestled upon a bed of faded silk, was a faded photograph of a young woman and a child. A surge of unfamiliar emotion washed over Anya, as if she had somehow stumbled upon a piece of her own lost past. Determined to unravel the mystery behind the locket, Anya returned to the village and showed it to her father. Grigory's eyes widened in recognition, and he summoned the others to witness the artifact. Together, they pieced together the fragmented memories of a time long gone. The woman in the photograph, they realized, was Anya's grandmother. She had been a young mother when the war broke out, and she had fled into the forest with her infant daughter. Tragically, they had been separated during the chaos, and her fate had remained unknown ever since. A flicker of hope ignited within the community. Perhaps the locket held the key to finding Anya's grandmother and reuniting their fractured family. With renewed determination, they embarked on a perilous journey into the uncharted depths of the forest. Days turned into weeks as they followed faint trails and deciphered ancient maps. They faced dangers at every turn, from mutated creatures to treacherous terrain. But Anya's unwavering spirit and the bonds they shared kept them going. Finally, on the horizon, they spotted a faint glimmer of light. As they approached, they realized it was the flickering embers of a campfire. With bated breath, they cautiously made their way towards it. And there, sitting beside the fire, was an elderly woman with long, silver hair and piercing blue eyes. Tears streamed down her face as she recognized the locket in Anya's hand. It was her granddaughter, the child she had lost so many years ago. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. The scars of the past melted away as love and forgiveness filled the air. Anya and her grandmother embraced tightly, their hearts overflowing with a joy they had never imagined possible. The community returned to the forest of Haven, their spirits forever changed by the extraordinary reunion. The locket had not only reconnected a shattered family, but had also reminded them of the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. And so, in the heart of the ancient forest, under the protective embrace of the towering trees, the survivors of the apocalypse found solace and a glimmer of hope for a brighter future. The forest of Haven became a symbol of resilience, love, and the enduring bonds that could triumph over even the most devastating of losses.